So I want to do a video to help out some of these strongman that are now getting into a bag toss, common in a lot of events now. And one thing I'm trying to do is use the Highland Games technique for the weight over bar for the strongman with the bag. And so what's happening is a lot of guys are just kind of swinging out, almost like a kettlebell swing, reaching down and throwing up. And honestly, if it works for you, it works for you. But I want you to try to give this a try on what we do. In Highland Games, you can look up the drill called the water bottle drill. There's like 8 videos out on it. But you want to come kind of high above the knees with the bag. As you come in high, you're going to reach back and then sit down on it and come out low. So it's almost like a J trajectory, kind of in high, down, and out low if you're watching the camera here. And what that's going to do is give you a more vertical jump with the bag. And then if you finish looking with your fingers towards the bar, that's going to kind of give you that backwards trajectory with your shoulders with the finish. So let's see how this looks. And I don't have a bar here, but what I do is put my heels on the line and kind of throw the bar. The bag should land, in a perfect world, kind of just behind me, about a step or 2 in the grass. So I start with the bag out front. I do a warm-up swing, in high, out low.
All right, so let's look through this with the Coach's Eye app. I want to kind of slow this down for everybody. And so what we're going to do is give a warm-up swing. And now you're going to see, I talk about coming in high, in theory, with the ball, like a line at my knees, the bag above that line. So high as my knees as I can. And then now you'll see the bag drop down as I sit down. As I sit my butt down, we see the bag now drop out low. So now the bag, if you look here, is almost touching the ground. But if we back up, see how much higher the bag is, about a foot or so off the ground. So that's what we talk about, coming in between the legs high, and then sit down on it out low, and then driving very vertical here, almost like I'm vertical jumping. This is a loaded vertical jump pattern where everything is directed straight up. Even though the bag is going to have a little bit of an outward swing, I don't think about a kettlebell swing around. I think about that bag trying to go straight up with it. This is a vertical event. And you finish fingers towards the bar. Notice the shoulders, and this is where I talked about the backwards trajectory, are now behind the hips. And finish there. Nice and high. Bag finishes behind you. Almost a perfect parabola. So I don't have a bar, but what I want to think about is a parabola, and where that bar would peak, it would peak at the bar. So I stand in this position here, and the bag land here. So if my bar is in the middle, I take one step forward, and the bag should land one step behind. So what I failed to mention was this is set up for a max effort throw. So where you have time on your hands, and I'll show some faster versions in a minute here. So what I want you to see is warm-up swing, and then now this is a good view to see how high the bag is off the ground. So right here, we can measure the bag technically. I mean, we can almost measure it, how high that bag is off the ground this way. And then how, as we play it, watch how it's going to drop under that line as I sit the hips down. Notice the hips drop down. So come in real high with the bag, sit the hips down. Look at how the bag is now under that bar, almost skimming the ground, and everything is very vertical, almost like a vertical jump. If we take the bag out of it, if you cover up this bag with your finger, you can look at how this is almost a pretty bad vertical jump position right there. Finishing, shoulders are now behind the hips again, and the bag lands back behind me. So here is a fast technique. If I have to be fast with this, with no warm-up swing, here's how I managed to do this one. I still kind of took the bag from the start very high. Notice I picked the bag. Look at the angle of the bag here. Notice the angle of that bag is this direction. Oh, excuse me, that direction. So the bag comes up high and still allows me, notice it came above the, or as high as it could above the knees, or in theory above the knees, and then still sat and dropped. See how the hips almost rise, sit, drop, vertical. Look how low the bag is, getting a big pull from the bottom. And one thing I also need to mention is you want to let that bag drop. So we want to let gravity sit, let the bag drop, and right now start pulling on it. When the bag hits your heels, if you pull too early, the bag's going to want to go out this way. So you'll throw it up and it will not go back behind the bar. So we need that bag. We wait till this moment so the bar, our directional pull ends up being that right there. So I've personally never done this version in competition, but I just want to kind of give you my thoughts, and I tried it out because I've seen this a lot. You need to practice an event where you have your run up to the bag exactly timed. So this is not how you need to do it. This is just how I ended up doing it this day. It was a 3-step, 1, 2, 3 grab bag, and however I decided to come back. Now, what I want you to notice is it's not as perfect, but got the bag high here. And when I get back to get set, I come in high. So it's still relatively high. And this is not perfect, but a lot of people will just drop low with it and then come up from low. So notice there's still a high and a sit. See the hips? Watch the hips here. Hips come high, bag's back, and now I still sit down on it. It's not as drastic, but look at how low the bag ends up. The bag ends up still at the ground, but it came in between my legs much higher. So we still have that same trajectory. It's just not as noticeable and still very vertical on the finish. So just pay attention to that trajectory. See if this helps you gain a little bit extra height. If you're having trouble throwing backwards too much into the wall. Another thing is, once again, wait till that bag gets right between that feet right here before you start pulling on it. Don't pull when it's way up here, or that trajectory is out and not up. So hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown of this event. Throwing it through the legs as vertical as you can. Sandbag toss for strongman. Let me know your thoughts, feelings.